Really?
Yeah.
Joey, can you tell us your name, your job title, and the organization you work for?
So my name is Santina Joy Laura. I am a research associate under the Research Knowledge Exchange and Management program of the Center for Disaster Preparedness.
Thank you. So, Joey, can you explain me a bit, what did we see yesterday? For example, introduce Buklod-Tau and what did we see yesterday? In a summary of what we saw.
So yesterday, we saw the activities of Buklod-Tao, which is a civil society organization, a people's organization based in Barangay Banaba in San Mateo, Rizal. And Buklod-Tao showcased
Sorry, it might help if you did start exactly the same, but at some point you say that Buklod-Tao is an implementing partner of Frontline. So that's, and then
Do I have to say to mention yesterday? I have to say yesterday.
No, that's fine. It was great the way you started because it was part of the question. But when you mentioned Buklod-Tao, you said who is a Frontline implementing partner.
Actually, don't say yesterday.
Don't say yesterday.
Just say
Buklod-Tao.
we saw.
We saw.
Because yesterday kind of gives it a very.
Okay. All right.
So can you summarize what we saw in the communities?
So we saw Buklod-Tao, which is a people's organization based in Barangay Banaba, San Mateo, Rizal, and they are an implementing partner of GNDR in a project called Frontline. And we saw yesterday the various activities that they do in their community. For example, doing fiber boats, planting an urban garden, and also doing sewing for different kinds of materials using garbage that they collect.
So, can you explain the involvement of an organization like Buklod-Tao and Frontline?
So, through the Center for Disaster Preparedness, Buklod-Tao was engaged in the Frontline project in 2014. They were engaged as a participating organization wherein Frontline methodologies would be taught to these organizations, and they would implement these methodologies in their communities. They would gather data from their communities regarding the community's hazards, the impacts of these hazards, the actions that they use to address these hazards, as well as the barriers that affect how they address these hazards. And Buklod-Tao was involved in a data gathering in San Mateo, Rizal, in areas in San Mateo, Rizal, and they did surveys and they did action planning in these communities.
And can you tell me what is the what is the relationship within the Frontline project in Philippines? What is the relationship between CDP and Buklod organizations like implementing partners like Buklod-Tao?
Sorry, can I mention the other organization or just Buklod-Tao?
Yes, no, you can mention another organization. It actually, it's better.
Okay, wait,
you mentioned.
I might forget. Just the
No, it's actually very important because you have the overview of what are the Buklod-Tao, maybe the organizations in Los Gigantes. So if you mention the different implementing partners.
Okay, let me just recall for a while.
No worries.
That was like 4 years ago. So it was Buklod-Tao, yes. EcoWeb. What are the other two partners?
Are there many?
There were 5. I'm just having trouble recalling the other 2. Or is it okay to just mention? Can I just mention Buklod-Tao and other?
I actually don't need to hear the names.
Okay.
So you
maybe
can
just the sector.
To them
Okay.
that there was 5 implementing partners across Philippines.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, can you
Yeah,
repeat?
so the question is, can you explain the relationship between CDP and the other implementing partners of Frontline in the Philippines?
So CDP, or Center for Disaster Preparedness, was the national. Oh, sorry.
Okay, start
Okay,
again.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'll start again.
Do you
Okay.
want to speak to her?
It was Miss Lorna.
Yeah,
Yes,
I know,
yeah,
but do you need to speak to her?
No,
or-
no, no.
I think
She just wanted to see you.
Yes.
see us and say hi. Or, yeah.
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 Okay. Okay.
Okay, start again, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got the
So-
question. Yeah.
The question
That's the question again, yeah.
was,
Now you forgot the relationship of
yes,
CDP.
can you
Yeah.
explain the relationship of CDP with the implementing partners of Frontline in the Philippines?
So, Frontline in the Philippines has CDP as its national coordinating organization, and CDP's partners under this Frontline project are 5 different organizations in the Philippines. So, these are 5 participating organizations consisting of organizations from different regions and risk areas in the Philippines. Some of them come from people's organizations, civil society organizations, and the academe.
That's very, very good. Very good. So, can you explain or summarize what Frontline has brought to the communities?
So, Frontline has had a major impact to the communities since its implementation in 2014. So, for the communities, it brought them awareness of the kinds of hazards and threats that they have in the communities because of the data gathering that was conducted by different participating organizations. So, this awareness has driven them to act and address these hazards, and they have also conducted several actions in addressing these hazards. For example, partnering with different sectors, for example, the government, local government units in their areas, and also partnering with different civil society organizations who can help them in addressing these threats in the communities. Frontline has also had a major impact on the partner organizations. These participating organizations have experienced increased capacity building in terms of gathering data from the community, also interacting with different kinds of people, and also partnering with different sectors, and also especially the vulnerable sectors in the community, like women, children, the youth, older persons, persons with disability, and indigenous persons. It has increased the confidence of these participating organizations and has also helped them network more in their communities.
That's really good. I couldn't have written it better.
I'm sorry.
If I had written it
Okay.
myself, yeah, this is what I want to hear. It's
Okay.
perfect. It's great. Okay. From the point of view of the people implementing, like you have been at the front line of Frontline.
Yeah.
So from the point of view of the people implementing the project, with the communities, with the implementing partners, can you tell me a bit about the lessons that CDP has learned when implementing Frontline?
When implementing Frontline, CDP has learned the importance of doing information education and communication campaigns because Frontline was able to produce data about different communities in the Philippines, and we were able to generate IEC materials, information education communication materials, such as case stories that we gathered from different communities and risk areas in the country. And we were able to also gather human interest stories through a video documenting the experiences of people in a far-flung island in the Philippines. So the importance of these information education materials was highlighted by Frontline. And through these materials, we were able to raise awareness in the communities regarding the threats, hazards, and impacts of these hazards in these communities, and also able to show further understanding and a deeper understanding of these communities.
Okay. Can you explain a bit about what happens with the information that is gathered and that raising awareness? What is the next step? How does that link with the advocacy processes that we heard before from Camille and from Lorraine? How does the information gathered at the community level link in through Frontline with the advocacy?
So one of the main highlights of the Frontline process is the bottom-up and the top-bottom process that occurs in these methodologies. So we gather data from the community. These data from the community are aggregated, and we have a big picture of the experience that they have within their regions. And now, since we have these threats, these hazards, we have a deeper understanding of these threats and hazards. These are shared to the local government units, civil society organizations, and then from since they have now the idea of what occurs in these communities, they can help address the threats and hazards based also on the local action planning that has occurred based on the Frontline methodology.
And Joey, can you describe a bit about that local action planning, what it is in relation to, where does it sit in relation to the Frontline, the whole overall Frontline experience?
In the Frontline project, at the end of its methodologies of data gathering is a local action planning process wherein the participating organizations in the different risk areas conduct focus group discussions with the different sectors in the communities, the vulnerable groups in the communities, to be able to gather their thoughts regarding what actions to take to address the threats and hazards that have been identified in the data gathering of Frontline. So now, through this local action process, they are able to identify the major tasks that they now have to do moving forward from this data that they have, and then use this information to be able to develop local processes in their communities in coordination with their local government and the civil society organizations in the area.
That's very, very good. How do you see the sustainability or continuity of what started through Frontline in the communities? How do you see it going ahead? Once Frontline disappears, is something going to happen, or do you think, or can you describe or explain how do you see the continuity of Frontline once Frontline disappears?
The impact of Frontline is far-reaching and is very much sustainable, especially since it targets the communities. It highlights the needs that they have, and then it also gives information on what can be done in their communities. Given these information, which are transmitted not just locally, but are also given internationally, so now more people are aware of the community's voices. Frontline has amplified the voices of the communities. So now that people are more aware of this, there are actions that can be taken by different stakeholders. Even after Frontline's implementation, these actions can still resonate in the communities, and these actions can still be addressed afterwards.
It's getting better and better. Very, very good. Very good. And I don't think I have many more questions. I would like to ask you personally, to Joey, what does Frontline mean for you? What has been the impact from your personal point of view?
Frontline has had a very meaningful impact. It's
It's worth it.
don't include the bloopers.
No, we won't.
But Jeff will secretly
We won't. don't
Jeff
worry.
will secretly record all the bloopers from all over the countries.
He's probably touching the, yeah, it's a Marcus, yeah.
Yeah, not a good one, That's fine.
So Frontline has had a very meaningful personal impact to me as a development worker in CDP. Frontline has given me a deeper understanding of the plight of the communities, since before we had a more general idea of the threats in the communities, but through Frontline we get the heart of the people, what they actually need, and how we can help as development workers in addressing these needs.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Okay. I'm
Is-
not sure
is
if I
there
said
any-